There is a saying among the people who have lived in the Appalachian Mountains for generations that if you hear your name called from the woods, no you didn't. And if you hear whistling at night, do not whistle back. While the internet treats these warnings as fun ghost stories, the reality behind them is far more disturbing and rooted in the physical history of the land itself. You have to understand that these mountains are not just old, they are ancient in a way the human brain struggles to comprehend. Geologists have confirmed that the Appalachian Range is roughly 480 million years old, which makes them older than the rings of Saturn, older than the Atlantic Ocean, and significantly older than the first dinosaur bones. When you step into these forests, you are entering a biological time capsule that has existed long before human beings walked the earth, and the locals believe that something ancient still lives in the deep silence of those woods. The most famous warning, "Never whistle at night," is not actually about ghosts, but about survival against a very real threat that modern history has forgotten. Historically, the Appalachians were a brutal frontier where isolation was absolute. If you whistled at night, you weren't summoning a spirit, you were revealing your location to things that were hunting. In the 1800s, this meant cougars, bears, and other apex predators that could track sound for miles. But there is a darker anthropological theory that suggests this rule exists because of the wild men, or feral populations that have historically used the dense, unmapped wilderness to hide from society. There are documented police reports and FBI files dating back decades of fugitives, hermits, and entire families living completely off the grid in the deep brush, people who do not take kindly to outsiders making noise near their territory. When you whistle, you are signaling that you are not from there, and that you are alone. The fear of these mountains is backed up by some of the most baffling missing person statistics in the United States. The most chilling case that locals still whisper about is the disappearance of Dennis Martin. In 1969, 6-year-old Dennis was playing hide-and-seek near Spence Field in the Great Smoky Mountains. He stepped behind a bush and simply ceased to exist. This wasn't a standard missing child case. The search effort was the largest in national park history, involving over 1,400 people, including seasoned Green Beret Special Forces dropped in from helicopters. Despite the area being swarming with the most elite trackers in the U.S. military, they found absolutely nothing. No footprints, no clothing, and no body. The only clue came from a nearby family who reported hearing a terrible scream and seeing a rough, wild-looking man running through the trees with something slung over his shoulder, but the FBI classified the report and never released the full details. The geography of the Appalachians makes these disappearances possible because the ground beneath your feet is not solid. The region is home to the most extensive cave systems in North America, including Mammoth Cave, which is the longest known cave system in the world. However, geologists estimate that we have only mapped a fraction of what is actually down there. There are thousands of sinkholes, lava tubes, and abandoned mine shafts that drop straight down into absolute darkness. A person could vanish effectively from the face of the earth just by stepping 5 feet off the trail. This geological Swiss cheese effect supports the local theory that the feral people, or whatever takes people in the woods, don't live in the trees, but underneath them. It explains why tracker dogs often lose the scent abruptly in the middle of a path, as if the person just evaporated into the air or was pulled underground. This is why the warnings persist to this day. When a local tells you don't look in the trees or don't whistle back, they aren't trying to scare you with folklore. They are giving you a set of safety protocols written in blood. The Appalachians are beautiful, but they are an indifference engine that swallows people who don't respect the rules. The density of the vegetation is so thick that a search helicopter can fly directly over a missing person and never see them. So, if you ever find yourself camping in the Great Smokies and you hear a whistle from the darkness that sounds a little too human, or you hear a voice that sounds like your friend calling you from deeper in the woods, remember the history of Dennis Martin. Don't investigate. Don't answer. Turn around, walk back to your car, and lock the doors, because the oldest mountains on Earth are very good at keeping their secrets.